Hi and welcome back to the cottage. If you want your home and life in general to feel simple, calm, and uncomplicated without all the extra steps or effort it takes to get there, then this video will be very helpful. Let's clear the air right away and acknowledge that just because you want things to run more efficiently or streamlined in your home and life, it does not mean that you're a lazy person. It really just means that you are trying to be intentional and make the best use of the time you have. And that's actually a really smart thing to do. So today's video is really a list of shortcuts, tips and tricks and hacks that I have collected over my years of practicing a minimalist life that I think would be of benefit to you in jump-starting your own desire, your own goal of simple living. It's well known that simple things are easier to maintain, and so incorporating some of these ideas into your life right now will set you up for success in simple living going forward. However, there are some things on this list that I'm going to mention that will require a bit of extra effort up front that will then make things more streamlined and smooth for you in the future. And so just keep that in mind as I go through this list. The first tip is to slow down and take some things off of your plate. I've been guilty of this, and you maybe have too, of saying yes to everything, every volunteer opportunity that comes around, every extra side job that there is, every activity or club that your children want to be in, saying yes to everything. But there are only so many things that we can maintain and coordinate in our minds before it gets full and we start to spin. I call it spinning because that's how it feels to me. And so if you have been feeling that in your own life, give yourself permission to let some of these things go, to say no to some opportunities that maybe aren't your favorites, and really give yourself that space to have some downtime. We are so caught up in getting things done that we don't take a lot of time to really slow things down. Going along with that, I would encourage you, if you have a job outside of the home, to really focus and try hard not to bring your work home in the evenings, because that's really just going to add an extra layer on top of everything that is already going on. So slow down, take some things off of your plate, and allow yourself some breathing room. Now, you probably knew I was going to talk about decluttering, since I believe that is a very important aspect of simple living, but I'm going to approach it in a different way. This is for those of you that feel like the idea of going through all of your belongings is way too overwhelming. This, I think, is an easier approach to things. I've got 3 different tips here. So the first is to declutter it on a smaller scale. So one box, one bin, one category of items that you can just go through a little bit at a time and get that confidence to go move on towards larger projects. Another idea is to set a timer and only work for a specific amount of time each day, that you have that deadline, that you basically can be done after that 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes of time, whatever you decide for yourself. And then you have accomplished something for the day, but you didn't have to put in a ton of extra effort. And the third way to go about decluttering in a more simple, lazy way is really just to live your life and look for things that you're not using, you haven't grabbed for in a while. If your child hasn't used this toy, your spouse hasn't used a tool, you haven't worn a certain outfit, have a donation bin ready that you can put those things in and donate them without really even having to think about it again. So any of those techniques will work really well to help you declutter in a very simple way. And once you've done some of this decluttering, I highly advise you to consider donating these items instead of trying to sell them. Now, I know that many of us have items that we feel are valuable and we want to recoup some of the costs that we put into them because we feel guilty for having bought something that we didn't use as often as we thought we would. We've all been there, we've all done that. However, there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes of selling an item that I don't think we think about that much when it comes time. We have to take pictures, make a write-up of the item, post the item online for sale. We have to coordinate the pickup for the person that's going to be buying it or ship the item. And you might think, well, maybe I'll just do a garage sale. Well, then you have to store all of these items for an extended period of time. You have to take the time and effort to set everything up, lay it all up, and then deal with people that are going to be shifting through everything, messing it up, and you have to set it up again. You're going to take an entire day, sometimes 2 days of your time to run the garage sale. And all of this extra effort is really not simplifying things in your life at all. Where with donating, you can just put these items in a box or a bag and bring them to the donation center, or even sometimes the donation centers will come and pick them up from you. It's a lot less hassle. And so for me personally, unless an item is $50 to $100 or more, I'm not even going to try to sell it. I'm just going to donate it because it really does help simplify things. Hack number 4 is a no-brainer, but it has to be included in this list, and that is to do less shopping. Now, of course, this is going to mean that you have less impulse buying. You're bringing in less inventory into your home and into your life that you have to manage, and that's a good thing. But it also does something just as impactful that I don't think it's talked about a lot, and that is it makes you be more creative and resourceful with the things that you do have. For example, if you don't allow yourself to go to the grocery store for that one ingredient that you were missing for that specific recipe you were making tonight for dinner, you may instead create a whole new recipe from the items you have in the back of your pantry or the bottom of your freezer, and get really creative with it and really find that you like this new recipe. You use up the things that you already have. Or if there's a project that you're working on and you think you need a specific tool, hold off for a little while and see if you can use a tool that you already have that might work just as well. We don't often allow ourselves to think outside the box in this way, and I think that preventing shopping and really putting some limits on how often we shop just allows us to be more resourceful and allows us to be creative and think about ways that we can solve the problem without buying something new. Number 5 is probably one of my favorite hacks on this list, and that is to use downtime for digital decluttering. When's the last time you thought about everything that you have stored on your phone? You've got emails, texts, photos, apps, so many things get stored there, and we take that little device with us everywhere we go. And so whether we're sitting at a child's sporting practice or we're in a waiting room at a doctor's office, we have these spare pockets of time that we can use productively to declutter some of these digital things. Now, some people aren't bothered by digital clutter in the same way, but this is probably the fastest incoming clutter for all of us because we're getting so many things multiple times a day, and so we really do need to stay on top of it. So use those downtime moments to your advantage, and you'll probably be surprised at how effective it is. Number 6 on the list is to rethink hidden storage options. These are marketed as a way to make our homes look more streamlined and clean because we can cover up the clutter behind closed doors, or maybe it's an ottoman that flips open and there's storage inside for kids' toys or blankets, things like that. But I believe that these pieces actually make life a lot more complicated. Sure, it's easy in the beginning to just put stuff inside, out of sight, out of mind. We don't need to think about what we're even throwing inside of there. That's the easy part. When it gets complicated is when we need to retrieve something from any of these areas and we can't find what we need because it's all a big jumbled mess. So we take our time and energy to go through and try to find what we need from them. So I would encourage you instead to look at options that are a little bit more open, maybe a basket or a tray or a bin where you can still easily put things inside of it, but you also can see things visually and you're less likely to throw in a bunch of junk. If you have some of these hidden storage pieces in your home and you're finding that they're really complicating things, I know we used to have a toy box that was just like a big dumping pile for all of our kids' toys, and then they'd ask for this one toy and you need to search for it in this big tangled up mess. If they're causing stress to your life, rethink them. Find some different storage solutions that can really help to simplify things in your life, and I don't think you're going to miss the hidden storage as much as you might think that you will. And speaking of finding things easily, hack number 7 is to keep like things grouped together. Whether you have all of your children's water bottles in a basket or you have a box of batteries that you keep always in your utility closet, having these items all grouped together in one spot makes it so easy for every family member to know exactly where to go to find them and where to put them away. And this really does help to simplify home life. Now, you can go as far with this as you'd like. I know some people that have a big basket near their door that's filled with all of the socks for every family member. Because where do you need your socks usually? Right before you put your shoes on. If your shoes are by the door, your socks should be by the door. It makes sense. That personally does not work for me. That's not a system that we use, but you need to try some things out for yourself because you don't know what you don't know. And so try some things. You may find that you like different systems over others, but the concept again is just to keep those things grouped together in one area, central location where everybody has access to it. Number 8, ditch the laundry baskets. Save yourself space and get creative with ways that you can bring the clean items back to where they need to go. You might be able to use the hamper as your laundry basket or a reusable bag that you might use for groceries, for example, or a bin that you already have, but you probably don't need a dedicated laundry basket. You may even be able to get rid of the laundry hamper or hampers completely if you choose to use your washing machine as the holding spot for dirty clothes until you do a load of laundry. Again, this is one of those things that you need to try some systems out, see what works best for you, and see if you can get rid of the laundry baskets or even the hamper. And speaking of laundry, the 9th way that you can simplify your home and your life is to hang as many clothes as you possibly can. Because when it comes to laundry, nowadays, since we aren't washing things by hand, the bulk of the time spent is spent on folding clothing. And so if you can hang as much as you can, you are going to eliminate the need to do all of that excess folding. I also personally think it's a lot easier to look through clothing that is hanging on hangers rather than folded up in a drawer. Now, if you don't have a lot of closet space and you need to use your dresser for storing your clothes, just be sure to fold things vertically and store them in a vertical fashion so you don't need to dig through piles to find what you need. Another great hanging device that is pretty popular and is the ultimate lazy hack is the hook, because you can use a hook so easily. Just throw your coat on there, throw your towel on there rather than having to hang up your coat on a hanger or put your towel on a towel bar. So anywhere that you can incorporate hooks into your home for items like this is going to make that area much more simple. Number 10 is a big one, and that is to stop storing other people's stuff. If you have a home that your grown children or relatives have been using to their advantage as a storage place, you need to stop doing that. It's time to give them their eviction notice and tell them to come and pick up their belongings, because you have enough going on in your home and in your life than having to deal with other people's clutter. Now you might think, well, it's not causing me much stress. I have the space for it. It's all good. But mentally, behind the scenes, what you're not realizing is that you are still trying to make sure that these things do not get damaged. So you're thinking about pests that might be getting in there, water, making sure it's safe from water. From time to time, you may have to move these boxes around, move these things around to clean. And it actually is a lot more effort than you're thinking about. So to simplify your life, stop storing other people's stuff. I promise you, you will be happy when it's gone. The 11th way to simplify your home and your life is to invest in easy to clean furniture and finishes. I can think of multiple examples in this category that would be an absolute nightmare. So microfiber living room furniture if you have young children, upholstered dining room chairs or a rug underneath the dining room table. I've heard that stainless steel appliances can sometimes get that bad reputation of being difficult to clean. Dark floors, they show every footstep, they show every little particle of dust, or white grout between your tile. These are all nightmares to clean. It's going to add to the stress that you have in your home and make things a lot more complicated than they need to be. So if you're able to invest in some more easy to clean, wipeable surfaces, that will really make life a lot more simple and easy to maintain. Hack number 12 is to give your kitchen specific zones. This is one tip that is probably going to be a lot of extra effort in the beginning, but it will pay back in dividends going forward when it comes to the efficiency of the space. I think that many of us are guilty of moving things into our kitchens and then not thinking about how it functions best going forward. I know that when we first moved into our home, I put things where I thought that they made the most sense, But it wasn't until about a year and a half later that I realized it really wasn't working as well as I thought it would. And so I gave myself about a month or two to really think about how I wanted the kitchen laid out, how I wanted it to function, and then I did a complete overhaul of the space. I did a video about this process that I will have linked down below if you'd like a little bit of inspiration, but ultimately what I found in my kitchen was that I needed a zone for cooking and serving, and also a zone for just food, and another zone for cleaning. So the dish area, the sink, and that sort of thing. And I found that this works out the best for our space. We have kind of a U-shaped kitchen, and so this is functional for us. And you will have to do a little bit of research in your own kitchen, decide what would be a good fit for you. Maybe you're someone who is an avid griller and you have a cabinet that's dedicated just to your grilling supplies, or you are a cake baker and you have an area that is for all of your baking things and your cake decorating supplies. However your kitchen works best for you. But again, this is going to be a bit of effort in the beginning, but it's going to make things a lot easier in the future. Number 13 is a fun one, and that is to find a borrowing buddy. It's true that we can't own every single thing, and it would be silly for us to own something that we only use once or twice a year and then store the rest of the time. And so establish a relationship with somebody that you trust, that you can borrow things from, and that you can borrow things to in a mutually beneficial way. For example, if you have a friend who is an avid camper, but you go camping maybe just once or twice a year, and that person trusts you enough to borrow their camping equipment to use for that weekend or two, and then you can return the favor and borrow them something, maybe a tool that they might need for a project that they're working on. This just simplifies life a lot because, like I said, again, you're not storing things that you're not using on a regular basis, and it really is beneficial for the both of you. Another really easy way to simplify your home and your life is to opt for no-fuss bedding. This can look different for different people. I know some that eliminate their top sheet of the sheet set. They just keep the fitted sheet, they eliminate the top sheet, and they have a comforter. I know others that go even further and just have a quilt that they pull over themselves at nighttime. And other people will simplify their bedding by just reducing the number of pillows that they keep on top. But really what we were looking for here is to find simple bedding that we can make our beds easily. It looks tidy, it looks neat and clean. We don't have to mess with it a whole lot. And also materials that are easy to maintain, nothing that would need to go to the dry cleaners, for example. Hack number 15 is to use slimmer storage options. The gold standard seems to be right now in storage these large Rubbermaid type of containers. Some of them are colored and we can label them with what's inside of them, and others are clear so we can see inside of them. But all of these types of storage options, I think, are overcomplicating our lives because they are so big. They can hold so many things, and if we put too much inside of them, they are bulky, they're heavy, they're hard to maneuver around, and it's just a big mess. And so I like to say opt for those slimmer storage options, even if you need to have more of the boxes or bins, but they're smaller and easier to manage. That is a plus. I personally have found a hack that works really well for me for Christmas decorations. Instead of having those big, huge totes that you need to haul down from the attic or from the garage every year, I like to use vintage suitcases because they are hard cased, so I can keep those delicate ornaments inside of them, and they protect everything really well. And also they have a handle, so I can carry them around. It's just really easy and streamlined. And I think that eliminating some of these bulkier storage options and opting for something a little bit more slim and easy to manage is really going to help you simplify things, especially when it comes to storage. Hack number 16 is to rely on muscle memory. Chances are you find yourself grabbing for your toothbrush first thing in the morning, one of the first things that you do. And why is that? It's because we have done this motion hundreds or thousands of times, and it is just a routine that we have. And so when we're trying to establish new simple habits in our lives, such as making the bed or taking our shoes off by the door, bringing our dishes back to the sink when we're done eating, these are things that we might need to remind ourselves of at first when we're trying to establish this habit, but through time, the more often that we do them, the more the muscle memory is going to kick in, and we're going to do these things automatically, which is going to make our lives a lot more simple. The next thing I want to talk about is keeping countertops clear. Now, I know what you're going to say. Angela, you've mentioned this before, and the thought of me having to put away my coffee maker every single day and then taking it out the next morning, it seems like a lot of extra effort. Why would that make my life more simple? Well, there's one thing that you're forgetting, because our countertops are made to be used as a working surface. And so if we have a lot of clutter on top of our countertops, we're going to have to shift it all around in order to make space to work. And so those items are going to need to be moved regardless. So why not just get in the routine of moving them on a regular basis so that that counter is always ready for work? I know some of you are not going to agree with that, and so if you still want to keep some items on the countertops, be aware of which items you're keeping there. Only keep the ones that you use on a very regular basis. Has to be probably at least every single day. And also try to maintain at least one area of your countertop, maybe a corner spot, that is off limits to clutter. You cannot keep anything there. So keep that area clear. Have maybe a dedicated spot for the items that you are keeping on your counter. And maybe that's a good compromise. But I would challenge you, if you are up for the challenge, to try to keep your countertops completely clear and put those items away after every single use and just see how you like it. Maybe you will find that you actually enjoy seeing that surface freed up of all of the excess. Simple tip number 18 is to deal with paper right away. Now, I think that digital clutter has eclipsed paper clutter in the amount that is coming in and how frequently it comes in, but paper clutter is probably second on the list of frequency, and so we have so much that comes in on a regular basis. Even if you've unsubscribed from various mailers or you've gone paperless with your billing statements, it still seems that people find a way to mail you things that you don't really want. And so having a bin right by your door that you can go through your mail really quickly and discard anything that you don't need, recycle it, trash it, and that will just leave more time and energy for the items that you actually do need to take action on right away, such as paying bills or signing different permission slips. The 19th way to simplify your home and your life is to go for experience over extravagance. Gifts do not have to be physical items. I think that Americans especially have this feeling, the sentiment that every single holiday or achievement needs to be met with some sort of token of appreciation in the form of a gift. And if we can really recognize that those non-physical items such as kind words or just spending time together, they're just as special, probably even more so to the person that you're giving them to. This really will go a long way. It's going to mean that less clutter is going to come into your home and more memories are going to be made in the process. And the last idea I have on this list is probably the most important, and that is to schedule time for yourself to enjoy your own life and your home. We do not take enough time to really sit back and reflect on how life is going and what we value in our homes. And I think that really removing ourselves from all the extra that's going on in our lives and just taking that moment is really important. And really the best way to make sure that it's going to happen is to schedule it. I know that sounds a little bit silly, but even writing it down on the calendar, offering yourself an hour every week, 2 hours a week, where you can just spend time working on a hobby, a craft that you're working at, or just sitting in silence. Maybe you just want to have a bath. Whatever you want to do with your time, give yourself that gift of time and just being able to reflect. The more that you enjoy your life and your home, the more likely you will be to want to maintain. And it's not going to feel like a huge chore. And so be intentional about carving out these moments, or they may never happen. I truly believe that everything I mentioned in today's video has the ability to add value and to jumpstart your simple living goals. Maybe you're not able to try out every single hack or tip that I talked about, but if you can incorporate some of them into your home and into your life, I do believe that they will help make things more streamlined and efficient and simple going forward. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope that you'll stop by the cottage again really soon.